We love old cemeteries and churchyards, so come with us as we explore these places for the past. We're always looking for new places to visit, and we asked our lovely subscribers if they could recommend anywhere, and somebody said the Auld Aisle cemetery in Kirkintilloch, so that is where we are. This is the Auld Aisle extension, or the new Auld Aisle, so we're going to go and try and find the old bit. So we've come through that gate over there, from the new bit to a slightly older bit, and let's go and have a look over here because there is a wreath, and the wreath is for John, the son of Alexander and Margaret, who died on active service with the London Scottish attached to the Gordon Highlanders, 9th of June 1941, aged 23, and he is interred in Kranji War Cemetery, which as you can see there is in Singapore. And then the parents and their daughter Agnes Jean, and there's another war grave that is not a war grave, erected by John Stark and Isabella Young, and John's had his name picked out and Isabella hasn't, in loving memory of their son Archibald of the Scots Guards, who died in Italy 1944, aged 23. This is a bit more interesting, the early 1920s, but we're heading for that bit that we saw on the satellite image, or the aerial image, that looks very old and very over there somewhere. A nice collection of Celtic crosses here, that's in memory of Peter McGregor, and that's quite grand. Let's take a walk around here actually, a little detour, and see what else we can see, because there's some very impressive tombstones up here. That cross is quite nice, isn't it? That's quite a nice degree of carving on that. And over there we've got something even grander, in memory of Jessie Mary Elizabeth Dickey, who died in 1911, wife of Andrew Graham Service of Dalgowrie, Lenzie. That is a place nearby, I guess. Right, but we're going to go up here, round all this this circle of Celtic crosses, and see this big red sandstone thing over here with the magpie on the top. A red sandstone in a Fife cemetery is nothing unusual, but we're not in Fife, we're across in, well, north of Glasgow-ish, whatever this area is called. But that's a big red sandstone thing with this bronze inlay in it. That's quite impressive. Charity, mercy and humility. That is Beatrice Cluxon. A lot of work on it, that one. The three little faces at the top, and then the columns, and BC, her initials, and at the side it says Dunoon Homes, Glasgow Convalescent Home and Broomhill Home. No idea. Oh, alright, we'll go and look at the big one over here. Yeah, these are quite grand as well. This is William Reid, KTDL, who died in 1934. Main man on this is William Reid, who died in 1897, aged 65. So that's the Reid family sort of monument thing. I am not going to read you all of this one. Look at that. James Cole Monroe Kerr, DSO, Distinguished Service Order, a military gentleman. His fourth son, born Lenzie, 1880, died Edinburgh, 1954, and then Alice Margaret, his wife, born Glasgow, died Glasgow. His youngest daughter, Margaret. You know, quite a lot of information on that stone. That is a genealogist's dream. And that is a very grand draped urn. This is such a nice cemetery, and we're not at the most interesting bit of it yet. Most of the monuments here are made out of that grey granite stone, so they've all lasted incredibly well, which is always nice to see. If you get sandstone like we get across in Fife quite a lot, they're all very sort of eroded by time and weather, but these are all in pretty good nick. Like that one to the memory of James Morton, who died at Moorville, Lenzie in 1894, and also 7 children who died in infancy. We will make it to the old part eventually, but I keep seeing all these big grand memorials and going for a wee look to see if it's anybody, well, anybody that I've heard of mostly. No, this is the Spears family thing, for William Spears, Invershiel Lenzie, who died in 1917, and Elizabeth, his wife, and their daughter, and their eldest son, and their other son, and another son. So yeah, 3 sons, a daughter, and them. That is the Spears mausoleum monument thing. Not mausoleum, shut up, Ian. Oh, but did you spot in the background? Because I didn't, but I just have. That looks like where we want to be over there. We're not exactly sure how far back this goes. We know it's still in use to the modern day over there in the extension. So this must be the oldest bit over here. So this place has probably been in use for what, 300 years as a burial ground. We'll find out when we get in there and see if we can see some dates. So from the very early 1900s, late 1800s, we've now come back into 1888 and slightly further back in history, and this is obviously the great and the good of the local area. There's lots of urns and lots of draping and lots of obelisks and lots of Celtic crosses. This is a really nice cemetery, and we still haven't found our way into the bit over there. Hopefully Mary Gammack, the widow of James McEwen Esquire MD, late of Tar of Rusky, who died at Lenzie, can point us in the right direction. I thought this was a gate, but it's not. It's another quite impressive tombstone to John Ferguson of Benborough House, Lenzie, born at Belfast 1836, died in Lenzie 1906. After a life of strenuous effort, the soldier and servant of human liberty in the struggle for Irish freedom, he bore a foremost and fruitful, what did that say? Part foremost and fruitful part in the cause of land reform. He was a pioneer, right? So another notable person. Sorry, pants. Looks like, in my defence, it looks like an N. It's actually an R. So this is the end of the sort of. That's all quite old. There's a couple of really new ones at the end here, but we're going up to see if we can get into the old churchyard, and I think it might be fenced off, but let's go for a wee. Oh no, it's open. There's fencing, but the gate is open. This is the bit that we have been looking forward to. Hello, Mr. Pigeon. Do you mind if we visit your cemetery? No, I don't think you do. Right, let's go in here. This is the oldest bit, so let's see what we can. Oh wow. Oh yes, this is the old cemetery. Let's see if we can see any dates. Let's start off with this couple over here because they look like they're a matching pair. I'd like to start off with a little apology because we had a complaint, our first complaint. Somebody was complaining about my awful Scotch accent and could I do anything about it. I assume she means Scottish, and no, I can't. This is the way I talk. So this one was erected by Rebecca Horn in memory of somebody, her husband John Henry, who died, is that 1808 or 1868? You can see it better than I can. But yeah, we're right back into the early to mid 1800s. But I said we were going to go and look at these two over here, and that is what we are going to do. So this one is erected by Mary Henderson in memory of her husband Alexander Gartshore, who died August 1845. So yeah, quite old. Hopefully get a bit older. But just now this is erected by William Gartshore and Ellen Forsyth, his spouse, in memory of their children, John, who died in 1872 in infancy, and James, who died in May 1889, aged 27 years, and Robert, who is disappearing under the ground. This one is a little bit newer. This is 1909, a living memory of Annie Marshall, who died in 1909. And over here there's lots of really, really old ones, but not in the best of nick. So let's go and see if we can see anything. Oh yeah, there's a one 1780. So yeah, right back into the middle 1700s. This one next to us is also, I'm not thinking we're going to see much on. Oh yes, we can there. 1775. That's a stroke of luck. Usually these things are just about impossible to read, but this place so far is playing nice. It is all just a teeny bit overgrown though, which makes it a bit of a challenge, but let's see what we can see. There's 1846 just in there, if you can see that. So yeah, this is all fairly old and very overgrown, but we're going to keep going up this way and hopefully find a bit more interesting wee bits of history. Oh, and this one is very easy to read. I like the ones that are easy to read. And it says, erected by the Reverend John Mackay and Martin Mackay, writer, in memory of their father John Mackay, who died in 1870, and their mother, who died in 1886. Next to that there is a lump of sandstone that is Robert Buchanan in memory of his wife Margaret Gilchrist, who died in 1861. Oh, and look at the one over there behind it. That's quite cool. 1836 right at the top. This is the burying place of William Gray and Janet Gartshore in memory of their daughter Margaret, who died the 8th of January 1866. And next to that is another really old looking one. I wonder if our good luck of being able to read these things is actually going to continue. Let's see what, yes, it is 1771. These ones down the front are quite cool as well. That would be legible under all that moss. I'm not about to start scraping moss off somebody's headstone. And this one next to it has always got the date right at the top, 1863, but nothing else really visible on that. And that one behind it is very grand and also very covered in ivy. This one confused me because things are in a slightly different order. That says 1850 something at the top, and it says erected by Alexander Duncan in memory of his son John, who died April aged, whatever that says, 7 months, so it doesn't have a year there. The year's at the top. He died aged 7 months. Stay classy, Kirkintilloch. Well, that's to the point, isn't it? This is the property of James and Thomas Wilson, 1825. So it looks like here having the date at the top is a thing, because that one says 1852, the burying place of John Craig and Margaret Harty. The patina and history on these stones is amazing, and that says erected by Hector Gilchrist in, I'm guessing that would be memory of, yeah, you can't really see it, in memory of his, yeah, can't see that. Oh dear, I keep bending down then standing up and getting the worst head rush. What's over here? This is erected by David Tate of Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, in loving remembrance of his mother, Mary Dollar, wife of David Tate, who died in 1880, and of David, who died in 1880 as well. That's, yeah, people with a bit of money. And this is in memoriam of Janet Stark, aged 58 years. And it's got Jean Dunn McIndoe, who died in 1886, and of his children, Agnes, William, Walter and Thomas. This one has no date. It's the burying place of John Knox and Jean Marshall, his wife, and their family. Lots of wee bits and pieces off in the jaggy bushes over there, but we'll stick to the ones that we can actually see. This is quite nice, with some pretty daffodils beside it for a bit of ambience. This is elected by Neil Murray in memory of his wife Catherine something that is going, who died in 1863 down there. That's a fairly serious, you're not getting in fence. There is no headstone there that I can see, so no idea whose that was. There's some more quite old ones down here. Let's have a look at this one. That has got some interesting, it's got 2 X's carved there. So that is somebody who died in 1841. Robert, who died in 1841. I wonder why it's got like a line and then 2 X's. No idea. And next to that is erected by David Dalrymple in memory of his son John, who died in 1860. Right, so let's go and see if we can find any more really old stuff, like back mid-1700s. At least we're getting away from the worst of the jaggy bushes. That is somebody, Adams, from 1887 it says there, so it's going though. This is somebody who, as we often say on this channel, is fading from memory. And next to that we've got this, which has got some nice, not much that you can actually see, but it's got some nice inscriptions on it, that tabletop tombstone. Unfortunately it is all well and truly under the moss, but it's still a pretty object, isn't it? It's still a nice thing. Ah, okay, coming along the path, we've just been down there and it's now opening out into something that's a bit easier to see. This is the burying place of Robert Mc something. I'm not picking it all off because that's, I don't know if I'm going to do any damage to the stone and the moss is kind of protecting it, but yeah, things like that deserve to be left just like that. Ah, and behind it, hopefully, we're getting back into the old stuff. So let's see. This is the burying ground of John Lineburn and Janet McCash, his spouse, and their family, and that's from 1845. And next door to their family there is the burying place of Alan something, let's see if you can see a date. Look in the usual place, in 18 and oh, the sun's right in my eyes now, 18 something 5. This is all sun-dappled and picturesque, and that's really nice, with the new air bit in the background and people looking at me wondering what I am doing. Hopefully they won't come along and tell me to bugger off. And this stone, another one with the date at the top, is 1815, and this is the burying ground of James McAsh and Margaret McKay. Alright, so yeah, they've all got their dates at the top, and then them, and down the bottom we'll see, and their family. This is quite interesting. This is erected by James Russell in memory of his beloved wife Isabella Dalrymple, but then there's a big gap, and up at the bottom it says, what does it say? Months have rolled on, yet thou art not forgotten. Oh, it's probably a big, nice, long poem if you've got the time to read it all, which I am not going to. But you've probably guessed that already. This is another stone. Again, I say interesting. They're all interesting in their own way, but that is 1834 DC. But on top, as opposed to on the front, it says erected in memory of Mary Macpherson. So I wonder why that's on the top and not on the front of the stone. Anyway, don't know. Let's keep going down this row because, yeah, why not? It's all really, really pretty. That's a big sort of family vault, 1881, or if you look at it from the other way up, 1881. Placed in loving remembrance of Archibald Robert, Ellen, Peter, Agnes, Marion, Isabella and Jessie, children of David Tate and his wife Mary Dollar. So the whole family are in under there. There has been a big tomb here at some point, some sort of impressive big monument, because all that's left of it is the urn, but there's nothing around here that looks like it might be an urn base, unless it is possibly that one over there. Anyway, oh, this has got writing on the top as well. You can't read a great deal on the front, but on the top it says, I think that is HF and AC. And behind them is the burying place of George Rennie, and that is 1822. What a nice wee graveyard. Thank you so much for the suggestion. You've really got to watch where you're putting your feet. There was just a comedy moment for the outtake reel when I fell down that hole, not realising that hole was actually at the edge of an old tabletop tombstone. I've not seen that before. There is a gravestone that has got like a herringbone pattern on the back of it. It's got lots of lines incised into it. Let's see if we can see who this is without getting jagged to death on this. Erected by Gilbert Lang in memory of his daughter Janet Lang, who died in 1848. And next to them, erected by the same Gilbert Lang, I assume, in memory of Margaret Gow, his wife, who died in 1847. And the above Gilbert himself, who died in 1880. The sun is now doing me no favours by being right in the background, but this is erected by James Tavern and Elizabeth MacDonald, his wife, in memory of their son James, who died in 1850, aged 2 years and 3 months. The stones that are probably the oldest have the least information on them. That is DH and nothing else, but it is quite a big piece of stone. Let's go down this way. Oh, there's another fenced off one over there with some obelisks and stuff, but we'll go down here for the sake of completeness, down this outside edge, and then have another wade through the middle and do battle with the jaggy bushes. That's not a bad view over that way, and this is erected by John Donne in memory of his wife Isabella Findlay, who died in 1861, aged 41, and of his daughter Margaret, who died in 1861, aged 11, and also obviously of John himself. Oh, and I thought we were going to be a lot newer over in this wee corner because we're getting closer to the new air bit, but no, that says ILES 1770, was that 1733 actually? No, it's 1733. Wow, that's the oldest one yet. This one has lost its little draped urn, but it does give us a chance to get up close to the urn and see the sort of carvings and the drapery over it, and yeah, that is really nice. And it's fallen off the top of the tomb of James Wood, who was a portioner. There's an occupation for you. No idea what a portioner was, but he was one of them. So this is similar to the stones we saw up there, but slightly different. It's got 1841 at the top, the burying place of Robert Lethem and Mary Kirkwood, to the memory of their son Thomas, who died, 1841, I'm guessing. It's not down the bottom again. That just confuses me when I'm trying to get my sort of flow of nonsense that I talk sorted out. And down here there's a field of the very tops of very old stones sticking out the ground, and that says, that's an I, that's an N but it's backwards, AS 1733, and the one behind it has INC and then Moss, again 1730 something. Right, this is quite a good run of actually being able to read things. This one, let's have a look. That is 17 something again. This one is not quite so easy to read, but it has got 17 down there, so we're still back in the 1700s. This is all wonderfully, wonderfully old. Anything on that one? I think we can just see the initials but not the date. That looks like a something and then an M. Another fairly serious lump of stone, this one. This is Margaret Thompson in memory of something Gregor, her husband, who died 15th of March 1854, aged 49, and their son William, who died aged 4, and it was erected by Peter McGregor in memory of his mother Margaret Thompson. So Peter put it up, but he's not at the top of the stone, and she died in, let's see, where is it, 1856. Right, that was one of those annoying moments where you look at the GoPro and realise it's not been recording, so here we go again. Take 2. At this place there's lots of stones that are lying down or are actually mostly buried or completely buried. There are some like square lumps of grass that turn out to be gravestones totally covered in grass. So this one here is from 1867, and that is the daughter of somebody Smith of Kirkintilloch, I have no idea where that is, who died 1867, and somebody Smith auctioneer who died 1877. But next to it, beyond John Smith and Marion Ross, oh that's interesting actually, yeah, I'll pretend I've seen this for the first time and not already done this bit. John, and the N is backwards, and Marion, but the N is forwards. That mason must have been learning as he went, and that is from 1808. And this is possibly my favourite one yet. It says, here liest the corpse of James Smith of Calfmuir of Duntably, who died 24th of January 1805, aged 67 years, and also in memory of Jean Thomas, his spouse, who died on the 5th day of January 1817, aged 85. And then family members, William, the youngest son of David, who was from Calfmuir as well, who died in, let's see what we can see, 1810 I think that says. It's kind of gone round about that bit, but yeah, more family members at the bottom of that one. Right, it's now going to start raining just because I'm having such a nice time. I couldn't make up a better progression of gravestones than this one, which has got M, R and J, W, and as far as I can see nothing else. And next to that you've got 1852, erected by, with lots of flourishes round the by, Michael Ross, flourished round the and, Isabella Watson in memory of their son Michael, who died in 1852. And right next to them it's 1902 in memory of William Gray, who died 1887, and Margaret Shearer, who died in 1901, and their infant daughter, who has no name, who died in 1849. Oh, and what is this over here? This is a small tombstone lying on its back. Let's see what we can see. Michael Docherty in the memory of his beloved wife Bridget, that's a name you don't see very often, Bridget Carrick, from 1872. Again, that's a nice wee stone though. I hope you're liking the guest appearance from the purple Dr. Martens. If you ever find yourself passing Kirkintilloch, you've absolutely got to stop off here. This is just amazing. Once again, thank you so much for that tip. And this is the Kinborough corner, obviously. This is the burying place of Robert Kinborough and Mary Henderson and their family from 1852. And this is sacred to the memory of James Kinborough, died 18th of October, can't really see that, in 1882, I think, 18 something. There's a definite date though, and John Kinborough, who died 1871, and Agnes, who died 1875. And next to them, with a much deeper inscription, so it'll last forever, we've got, this is the burying place of William Kinsborough and Mary McKellar. and their family, but it doesn't have a date at the top. But then if you go along next to that, all in one seamless take, it is IC and MC from 1783. Have we ever seen so many 1700s burials in one wee place? I don't think we have. There's another occupation in memory of Arthur Walker, a late carrier. Now, I don't know, maybe that was a letter carrier, like a mailman, in Kirkintilloch, who died 7th of April 1838. The carrier is a guess because we've seen letter carrier used on a couple of others, so either a carrier of goods or he could have been a postman, not sure. I'm now risking life and limb trying to get through here. Yeah, I'm not going to try and get in there. That's quite grand, but the cage round it has served a purpose of making sure you can't actually see who it is. So whoever wanted to be remembered with this impressive fenced off bit is not rememberable because you can't get in. Okay, I was beginning to think I knew what the things carved on the tops of the stones meant in cases like this, but now I don't. This was erected by David Forsyth to the memory of William Johnston, who died in 1844. And on the top it says WA, but it's like round the wrong way to be read from the front. No idea, maybe that was the mason or something. There are lots and lots of nice old stones here to read, but we're going to head back down this way. Then we're going to leave having a closer look at some of the stones out in the newer bit, but obviously not the newest bit. You've really got to watch where you're putting your big purple boots. This is, oh, and I fell down a hole. This is the burying place of James Forsyth, merchant of Kirkintilloch. Here is interred Elizabeth Macaulay, his wife, who died in 1856, and James himself, who died in 1870, and Alexander, his son, who died in 1862, and that stone was put up in 1857. Okay, I said I was leaving and then I looked back over my shoulder and saw a couple that I missed. That's 1852, well I've missed loads, it's quite a big place. That's 1852, the burying place of Alexander Jarvie and Margaret McFarlane and their family. But next to it is one that has got a very old inscription but doesn't look that old. You'll see what I mean in a second. It says WMBR 1744, but then it says William Baxter died March 1894. And Mary Jarvie, who died 1901. So this must be the original people here, and then William and Mary have added themselves to it, I guess. The little sort of entry chapel doorway thing is quite good. Now it's got pigeons living in it, as we saw earlier, but it's yeah, quite a nice little construction. I would like to come here with a stiff broom and clean a lot of these off. That is erected by Charles S. I'm going to say that's Gray, his spouse Jemima, another name we haven't seen very often. The memory of their son John. Right, so erected by Charles and Jemima to John. Let's see, aged something. There'll be a date in there somewhere, but it's under all. This is Gubbins. This one is not a shape that exists anywhere else in this cemetery with this but at the top, and it's also very, very worn. But you can sort of see vestiges of text. You could probably rub that off and get it, but guess what? We're not going to, because we're going to go over here to another, at least one and possibly two very old stones. ILKA 1770 something, 1778, and that one, yeah, the date is underground or under moss. Another person that you probably haven't heard of, but if you want to do a spot of research, off you go. I know some of you like looking at these and then taking it a lot further than we do with our wee zips round. This monument of affection, admiration and regret is erected to David Gray, the poet of Merkland, by friends from far and near, desirous that his grave should be remembered amid the scenes of his rare genius and early death, and by the Luggy, now numbered with the streams illustrious in Scottish song, born 1838, died 1861. A lug in Scottish is an ear, so it's be remembered by hearing his poetry, possibly. Again, that's obviously a guess, as is a lot of the things that I say. Right, we're there you are. That's obviously a very old tomb ornament. It's like some people have urns on top of theirs. I want an owl with light up eyes just to freak people out. This is the last stone in the old part that we're going to look at, unless I go and look at those ones over there, but I'll not tell you that. This is the burying place of John Aitkins and his daughter Agnes, and John died in 1811, I think that says, does it? Yeah, 1811, and Agnes died in something under that big splodge right there. Alright, there's something interesting going on here because this is erected by John, Ferguson, Agnes, I don't know, I can't see that, it's under moss, in memory of their children. And next to that is the grave of John in memory of his wife Agnes Stirling, who died in 1874, aged 38. Okay, we'll look at the last wee stones on the way out. That's 1836, JJ and EG, and that one has got, it's got something at the top, but AM, not anything else, MS and AM possibly. And these ones, yeah, nothing. Right, done. Let's go and look at some of the newer stuff with some really, really impressive statues. I see the sign, but as yet we have not seen any of the war graves. We'll have to go and find one or two to say hello to. We mentioned earlier about nice big granite monuments like these with the urns and the stuff on top. Don't use sandstone, because if you do it'll end up looking like that, which is very photogenic and very picturesque, but absolutely no use if you want to be remembered. I'm now looking for something that looks like it might be a Commonwealth war grave. Oh, right down there between those stones, that could be one. Let's go and see if we can find any Commonwealth war graves, just because that is kinda what we do, you might have noticed. Wow, this is how far the diaspora from these places travelled. This is Charles Stewart, a draper who died in 1894, and the children of the above, Marion and Archibald and Elizabeth, but then you get Alexander, who died in Jacobsdal, South Africa, and James, who died in Georgetown, British Guiana, and then Margaret and William, and then on this side we've got Charles, who died in New Zealand. Hello to anybody from New Zealand who is watching. And then you've got Henry, JP, Justice of the Peace for Berwick upon Tweed, which is in the Scottish borders. And then you see things like that at the side of the road and you think, oh, I wonder what's under there. It's probably part of the drainage system, judging by the fact there's a modern slab and a little drain there, but you look at it and you think, oh, is that the entrance to a vault? A secret underground chamber full of cool stuff that other people seem to find, and we luckily so far haven't. It's really cool. Since we started doing this site, we now have to look at these graveyards in a different way, because we actually go and read a lot more of the inscriptions than we used to, trying to make it interesting for you guys, because we want our subscriber numbers to go up, although unfortunately they do appear to have tanked. I think we upset the algorithm by putting out a longer video, and since then it's not showing us to anybody. But hey, we're a private wee exclusive club, me and you guys, so let's keep it that way, unless you've got a few thousand friends that want to join in. Oh dear, I said I was going to go back to the van, and I've just looked down there, and that's lots of gravestones lying down and falling over and stuff, so I suppose we better go down there for a wee look. There's an urn and an urn. There's one, a wee baby and a lamb on top of that one. That's quite cute. So this will probably be one where we failed to find any Commonwealth war graves. Then we go on the Commonwealth war graves website and it says, oh yeah, there's thousands, how did you miss them? Yeah, I know. Thankfully I just had to say that, and then I knew as soon as I said that I would actually see something that looked a bit like a Commonwealth war grave. I can't, because I can see two. That is Private W. Connell of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders from 1919. O Lord, thou art most righteous, thy judgments are upright. And he was a private. And down a little bit past William and Susan there is Private T.H. Pedden of the Cameronians, the Scottish Rifles, again 1919, 3rd of March, aged 33. I'm guessing the fact there's lots of stones that have fallen down are why you don't build your graveyard on a really steep slope, because yeah, lots of gravity having an adverse effect here. They've built these terraces, I think, with flat bits for the bodies, and then the stones are falling down at the top, but it's still a very nice place to visit. And this goes all the way down there, lots of stones that have fallen over. It's actually chaos, it's actually carnage. I've never seen anything quite like this. There are hundreds of tombstones that have fallen over. Not very well designed, I don't. Oh, see what I've just seen down there. So I keep getting sidetracked, because down there are a wee plot of 4 Commonwealth war graves. So let's go down there and say hello, if I can find a way down without following the fate of these tombs and yeah, falling flat on my face. It's got a sort of really ramshackle feel to it. I really like this. This is a very, very nice graveyard, and I thought the oldest bit would be the most interesting, but this is not bad, eh? That's not a bad wee view looking back up that hill. This is the first stone on this bit. This is buried in the cemetery, so he's here somewhere, is James Weir, who served as Private John Clark, so he served under a false name. The Black Watch, 1918, aged 36. And then that bit down there is interesting. Unknowing, served with the colours 14 years and 64 days, R.I.P. Right, and let's go and risk getting the purple boots muddy by looking at these three chaps down here. That's another one. It's a private who is buried in this cemetery. That's Private Nelson of the Scottish Borders, King's Own Scottish Borders. I'm just going to wade through this, yeah. And then buried in this cemetery, Private Gallagher of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. And finally, also buried in this cemetery, Private Lemon of the Scottish Rifles, the Cameronians. And he's from 1920, so yeah, a couple of years after the end of the war. I was worried about not seeing any Commonwealth war graves. Now that I've seen those chaps behind us and walked a little bit further along, I can see 1, 2, 3 where I'm standing, and probably more, so let's go and say hello. This is Driver T. Keenan of the Royal Army Service Corps, and from 1991. Hello, Driver Keenan. And over here on the other side we have got a more traditional white limestone headstone, and that is to Lance Corporal McAlpin of the Cameronians, 1941, age 30. And this is Private Brannan of the Highland Light Infantry, who died in 1915. And over there's another one, and then I've seen one more, and then we really got to get back to the van because it's starting to get a bit dark and miserable. So lots and lots of stones that have fallen over, a few that are still upstanding. It's like a row of really bad teeth along there. And this is Private Haggerty of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. Again, First World War, 10th of July 1916. And there's one more over here, like I said, and then that I think will be about us. And I always say that. I mean, that'll be us, and then we'll start walking back. We'll find lots and lots more on the way back to where I parked the van. We're into a newer bit. There's newer stones over the back there, but this is the one we're here to see, and it's somebody from the Royal Air Force. That is Per Ardua ad Astra, through hardship to the stars. Aircraftman, 2nd class, delaying of the Royal Air Force, died in 1943. Right, it's time to head back now. Definitely heading back now. Not going to stop and take any more photos or do any more filming of anything else. Well, that's not true, don't you? Okay, I knew inevitably there would be... Oh, I've just noticed that down there as well. I missed that one. Came up here to have a look at this rather impressive stone and cast iron thing. It's got a cast iron sort of surround on it and a cast iron urn at the top. Is in memory of Thomas Carrigan, who was killed by falling from on board HMS Lord Warden and was buried at sea. Well, I guess if he fell off the ship, that was exactly what would happen. And that was in 1874. That's really nice. Right, and there is another Commonwealth war grave down here that I suppose for the sake of completeness we should go and have a wee look at. Let's just head down, not to fall over. And that is Private Shields of the Royal Scots Fusiliers from 1916. Yeah, this is a really, really cool place. And there's the wee Baba and its lamb, and this is erected by Thomas Ferguson and Jane McNee in memory of the beloved children: Agnes, who died aged 9 months, James, who died aged 1 year and 7 months, Alexander, who died aged 4 years and 8 months, and James and Thomas themselves. That he shall gather the lambs with his arm and carry them in his bosom. So there's a wee lamb getting carried in that wee Baba's bosom.